We're good.
Our internet was a little slower.
Tell me you love me. I need a good laugh. I'm only
die.
You need a
Dark
good
today.
bath. Whiskey and perfume. You had a nightcap. Now how about that? I've got a new friend, a perfect stranger. He's got a bullet with your name in the chamber. A body organ, rearranger. You feel my danger. This time a bitch gets the last word. All your excuses.
Can we pause? I gotta change glasses.
Why? What's wrong with those?
Oh, nothing. That was a joke.
You're being funny.
It's nooner time.
It's time to change your glasses.
Detroit and rockin', Michigan. It's time to take a leap of faith with Jackie, Rocky, Nora, and Gina for some entertainment and inspiration. Join them every Wednesday at noon.
Yeah.
You can always find us at PodcastDetroit.com. I gotta ask, what were you born to do?
Do you guys have an Instagram page, Lauren?
I have a personal one that I tune in on.
You don't have a Justice for Lily?
Not yet. No, I just share.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the show has started. So happy hump day.
Happy hump day.
Welcome to Wednesday.
Hi,
Happy
ladies.
Wednesday. I'm
Happy
late at
Halloween.
posting.
Happy Halloween.
Is
Ugh.
it yours? Huh?
Ugh.
Nora, welcome back. How was your trip?
It was good.
I think we
It
can
was-
lose this.
Yeah. It was I was on Spirit. My daughter my daughter got married in Vegas, so she's an honest woman now. So we were on Spirit Airlines, and I was surrounded by a whole family of people that were all yelling back and forth over my head and stuff.
Were they your family?
No.
I was going to say that kind of. I don't think we were flying this
we were
weekend,
home.
so I think it couldn't have been us this time.
Yeah. So
So
then one of the aunties decided to tell me a couple jokes, so but that was kind of scary. Yeah. So anyway,
did you have a lot of people?
The plane was packed. There was no social distancing, but we all had on masks. Every time somebody coughed, I think everybody was nervous. Every time somebody said,
did they? Wait, were they weren't enforcing the masks?
Oh heck yeah, over your nose and your mouth.
Okay, good. I thought
even in Vegas, everybody.
What about Vegas? What was that like?
It was so many people. I was like really shocked. Yeah, they were.
Wow.
Yes, it was a lot.
Wow.
Was everything open?
Well, no, they didn't have shows. They didn't have any shows or
they came out with a.
Oh, okay.
I think the CDC came out with a thing today that said traveling in an airplane is actually safer COVID wise than like being in a grocery store or being in a restaurant.
Because the air circulates.
Good.
Really
Because they said that they filter the air. They filter out, like such a good percentage of the germs that you're going to be good, Nora. So you're A-okay.
So when did you get back? When did you get back?
I got back early Sunday morning. They're 3 hours behind us, so I'm still trying to play catch up. So I got back in Detroit at like 5:30 in the morning. We left Vegas at like 10:40, something like that, their time, which was like 1 o'clock our time. We got back at like 5:30 our time. And then I went to my daughter's house, jumped in the car and drove home. So I got home like about 7. Then I had to be at work at like 6 o'clock that evening.
Wow. Oh, so have you gotten any rest? Oh gosh.
You'd be at work that night?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've caught up, but Terry said I was really snoring this morning, so maybe I haven't.
Did you tell Terry nobody asked for his opinion?
Yeah.
I will. I'll pass that on to him.
Nora.
Yeah.
I heard you had some unexpected visitors when you got home.
Yeah, a young kid crashed into my sun porch while I was sitting in the family room on my couch with his car. Yeah. He came through two backyards. He came off of Atherton Road, and he crossed the median and came through two of my neighbors through their backyard, and my sun porch stopped him. So yeah.
What time was this?
Boom.
What time was this, Nora?
It was about 5 o'clock on Monday. Yeah.
In the morning or at night?
In the evening. And he jumped out of the car. I thought he was dead. At first I thought, because I live by a train, so I thought the train blew up and shook the house. That's what I thought at first.
Wow.
And then I stood up and looked out, and my sunroom is all like scrunched up like an accordion. And he jumps out of the car and he goes, I'm sorry, I was texting. Wow. Yeah. I was just glad he wasn't dead, but
that was the longest text messages of all time.
That's what
to make it through two backyards and then hit a porch.
Yeah,
that wasn't just I'm on my way home for dinner text. No, that was
why aren't you calling me back?
And
he was okay.
Yeah, he ran over the neighbor's riding lawnmower that he just purchased like a year ago. So he killed that. So.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So all the debris that he picked up from both yards is now in my yard. So yeah. So they had to.
So you got people come over to collect their stuff. Like,
well, it's all mangled, so no, it's just in my yard.
Oh, Nora, how old is this young man?
Well, he looked like he might have been maybe 17. He said he's been driving for 7 months. So yeah.
Oh boy, gosh, poor kid.
So they had to cut. The wrecker had to cut my other fence to pull the car out. So, yeah.
Did his parents, his mom or his dad or somebody show up?
His mom did. I didn't. She didn't talk to me, but my husband talked to her. Yeah, they did have insurance, so, and that was good. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow. He's lucky that he ended up in your yard. Somebody's so forgiving, because another person would have torched him.
Right. Everybody saying that.
They would have been like, I will be expecting you here tomorrow to clean all this up and fix my porch. He's lucky he ended up in somebody's. You're such a kind person. You would never have.
They're all saying they want to kill him. So it's like, I'm just so ready for this year to be over. I don't want an extra hour, because we have to fall. We have to fall back Sunday, right?
You're gonna refuse.
She's gonna stay forward. She's gonna get to 2021 faster than
I don't want any of it. So yeah,
it is a crazy time.
It really is.
We're so glad you're okay, though.
I am too.
So glad
Thank you guys. Okay
too.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah. Me too.
You know what? That's a good point. I guess if you don't want any extra time this year, don't change your clock, right?
Right. That's my plan. That's my plan.
2021, an hour before the rest of us.
Yeah. So
let us know if 2021 is any better.
Yeah.
Okay?
We'll just hang out here if it's going to be.
We're going to take the extra hour. So
Jackie,
you let us know if it's any better when you get there. What?
Well, next Wednesday I'll be on at 11.
Okay, you go ahead. All right. Well, anyway, we have some very special people here today, so let's get ready here, Nora.
Let's get ready. This segment is designed to showcase the stories of talented individuals who had a wish and found a way to make it happen. They set goals, overcame obstacles, and turned setbacks into comebacks. Their stories are unique, interesting, and most of all, inspiring.
Beautiful Lily Furno would have celebrated her 12th birthday this year, but she was taken from the world at just 2.5 years old by the brutal hands of her stepmother. The death of a child undoubtedly is the ultimate tragedy. There is no end for a grieving family. There's no moving on, and time doesn't heal. The pain lasts forever. This week, we hear from two amazing, strong ladies, Lauren Furno, Lily's mother, and Lynette Furno, Lily's grandmother. While the search for meaning in Lily's death may never be understood, the ladies, along with Chico, Lily's grandfather, and Michael, Lily's uncle, are on a mission to save other children and families from the pain and suffering caused by abuse. They're here today to share their story of how they turned their tragedy into activism. Welcome to the Nooner Show, Lauren and Lynette.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Your lighting is great. So
yeah, y'all look good over there.
You guys have the Zoom thing down here. As you can tell, we struggle with it all the time. Lauren, let's start with you. Tell us about the organization Justice for Lily. What does it represent? What does it do? What's the mission?
So we started Justice for Lily right after Lily passed away, which will be 10 years on the 20th. And we wanted to create awareness of child abuse and tell Lily's story in hopes that it will save somebody else and make somebody else speak up for abused children, because there were so many people that turned a blind eye to Lily's abuse and could have saved her and could have spoke up and didn't. So our goal is, by telling her story and by getting out there and showing people to cherish your children, because you don't know what's going to happen, that it may save somebody else. It may make somebody say, I don't want that to happen to my niece, my nephew, my grandchild, my friend's kid, and make them speak up and be that voice that Lily didn't have. So we, throughout the year, plan events to help bring families together while sharing Lily's story and creating that awareness, and also helping abused and neglected foster children.
What kind of events do you guys do?
So every year on her birthday, or I'm sorry, at the end of April, because April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, we have a giant, we call it the Lily Ball, which is kind of like an adult prom. And we have people come out, and we have a silent auction, DJ, photo booth. We have a catered dinner, drinks, everything to get people out and share her story and raise money for our biggest giveaway event at Christmas time. And this year we had to cancel it. So we actually had it last 2 weekends ago. We did it virtually. So it kind of put a damper in our spending for this Christmas, but we're not going to let these kids go without. We also hold movie nights. We, what else do we hold? I can't think right now. We do our Angelversary, which isn't a fundraiser, but every year on our Angelversary, we light candles, sing her favorite Christmas carols because she loved Christmas so much. And we light up the tree that was donated in her memory. And this year we're trying to sell 18,265 lights to represent the children that have passed away from child abuse since Lily died. So we're selling all those lights to try to lay them out on the lawn when we do that and show the impact of how many kids that really is.
18,000?
18,265.
Oh, wow.
Is that nationwide? Nationwide or worldwide?
So that's going off of, we did the average of 5 children every day and how many days she's been gone. So we figured it out that way. So yeah, on average, 5 children die every day of child abuse, which I'm sure with COVID and people being home and not being around other people that could speak up for them or having that safe place of school to go to, I'm sure that we're going to eventually, when they do the statistics, those numbers are going to go up, unfortunately. But as of right now, that was the number that the average is, 5 children.
Now, when you say you're selling lights, what exactly does that mean?
So we are, we're going to purchase like the curtain lights, and each light on there we sell for $1. So our goal is to make $18,265 to go towards the foster children. But we're going to purchase the curtain lights and we'll lay them out on the lawn or somehow display them so that everybody can see how many kids that really is. But we have, we call them lily lights on our website that people can go and purchase a lily light. And we figured we have 110,000 followers on our Facebook page, or over 110,000. Mm-hmm. A tenth of them, even less than that, do just one light, then we'll make it
easy. Yeah.
So
they can go on the website and purchase the lights, right?
Yep. So we just the other day released our Angelversary shirt each year on our Angelversary, and around her birthday we do Lily shirts, which I have the exclusive one from the ball on. Mom has the Christmas one from a couple years ago, and so we just did released her 10-year, and then we also did a package where if you get the shirt and the package deal, you're purchasing 10 lily lights along with it. So we are taking orders for those till Friday, so we're hoping to get a lot of lily lights sold with that too.
So it's a different shirt every year?
Yep.
It's a different shirt. So how do you get the design? Who does all of that? Do you do that?
So I go on Custom Ink and I kind of plug in what I want, and it looks like a kindergartner did it, and then I send it to our screen printer and they make it all pretty and make it powerful and do their magic. So we're very lucky to have a local business that we work with that does all of that for us and provides all of our shirts. So
Lauren, tell us about Lily.
Lily was born on May 14th, 2008. And I was in college at the time, and I just did not expect to be pregnant and unmarried and all of that. But I loved her from the moment that I found out I was having her. And when she was born, it was the most wonderful feeling holding her. I loved my parents and loved my family more than anything, but it was a different kind of love. And she was perfect. And when she was 9 days old, I was served with custody papers from her father saying that he wanted week on, week off custody. And up to those 9 days, he had maybe seen her 2 or 3 times and didn't seem like he was very interested. And so I was terrified to let her go for week on, week off. So we went to court and fought it. And we got the world's worst judge. He tore me up and down on the stand, saying that I was obsessed with her because I would call at night to see how her day went. He said that I should have never breastfed her if I wanted to be a single mom, which I didn't want to be a single mom. He said I should have.
The judge said that? The judge said that. Oh my God.
The judge said that? The judge?
Yeah. She said, wow.
And then
parent myself, I've heard science that contradicts everything that's
what is that? What does that even have to why would he have the right to say that kind of stuff? But anyway, go ahead with your story.
Well, to go on with that, her father had admitted on the stand, because I would pump and send the milk with her, so she was getting the same thing at both places, and he said he didn't feel like doing it, so he was just throwing it away. And so I stopped sending it and just came to the realization she wasn't going to get that there, and I would donate it to babies that needed it. But the judge also said that I needed to I was in my last semester up at Central, and then I had to do like an internship, and he told me that I needed to quit college and get a job to support my child. He told me, we had expert witnesses saying that this was going to be detrimental to Lily. We had an infant mental health specialist and a child psychologist saying that this is not okay. And he deemed them experts, but then in his closing statement said, you can pay them, or you can pay an expert to say anything. I take their testimony with a grain of salt.
This was the judge that made that statement?
Mm-hmm.
Was this a judge that you had knowledge of, or you knew a bit about his history and previous rulings, or this was all new to you?
At this point, we didn't really know much about him. It was going in there, we thought we were going to be okay because we had all of this evidence of him partying and doing drugs, and the fact that he got married 9 days before the court case to make himself look stable. We thought that he was setting himself up for what looked like an open and shut case that we would get custody. And then the judge ruled that when I was sitting on the stand, I remember I was crying, and he said, "What would you do if I just handed full custody over to him?" And I said, "I would be devastated." And he's like, "Well, that's too bad."
Oh my God.
And he said, if I didn't hand her over, that he's thrown mothers in jail for less. And when we brought up the drinking and the drugs, he looked at him and said, "You're married now, right?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "So you're done with that?" And he said, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, no more questions about that." So because he got married 9 days before, that made him give up all of that bad stuff that he was doing. So,
oh my God.
At the end of the day, he handed him custody Monday at 6 to Thursday at 6. And then he also got the third weekend of the month. He got 9 a.m. on Saturday to Sunday at 6. So basically it was pretty much almost 50-50 custody.
Mm-hmm. And what was your attorney at this time advising?
So the original attorney, he was a mess, and we had been told to hire him, and we had like 15 pages of documents of questions that he had asked me to get me prepared. And then when he got up there, he was just like stumbling through everything. And my dad is not somebody that gets mad. And on one of the recesses, he said, "What are you doing?" And he like was up in his face, and I was like, "Dad, like calm down. We need him to represent us the rest of the time." And he's like, "He's not doing anything." But it was just a mess. And it was awful. It was like I was living a nightmare, and I wasn't being listened to, and I was looked at like I was this horrible person, and I wasn't. And I think part of the reason why he looks at mothers like that is because there's so many people that take their kids into court and say, "This is what's happening," and it's not happening, just to get back at their ex. And it messes with people like me that actually were terrified to send my kid to her dad's house. And there was, I mean, it's awful. I just wish.
I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine. It's just.
So after that, she had to go to his house for that time. And then in April of 2010, she came home and she had a burn mark on her neck. And I asked him what happened, and he said that they were outside, and it was like a small circle, so it looked like a cigarette burn. And I asked him what happened, and he said they were outside doing a bonfire, and a spark flew and got stuck in the hood of her sweatshirt and burnt her. And so there was nothing prior to that, and I just believed him. And then she started coming home with more bruises and cuts, and she was under 2. And then we heard from somebody that she was found 2 streets down in the trailer park before her 2nd birthday, while the stepmother was passed out on the couch. And we were just hearing all of these things, but nobody was willing to step up. And the people that were willing to step up, like me and my family, we were unreliable because we can make things up. And so
by no one stepping up, are you saying like the neighbors or the people that from his neighborhood or that had witnessed some of this, his friends and family?
Yeah, friends and his friends and his family, and also I begged his parents, because most of the time when we would meet for pickups and drop-offs, it was them that was picking her up and dropping her off a lot. And I said to them, like, "What's going on? Why does she have so many bruises?" And they said, "What bruises? We didn't see anything." I said, "She had 22 on her body at one point. How did you not see those?" And they just said, "We didn't see anything." And they just kept doing that. I mean, she came home. I got a phone call from Renee, who was Jeff's wife. And she said she was hysterically crying. And she said there was an accident that she was mopping the bathroom floor and Lily came in and fell and hit her eye on the corner of something. And that's this picture. You can't really tell, but this is a black eye like Mike Tyson had hit her. And then so they allowed me to come see her, and they said they got her checked out and she was okay. And then a couple weeks later, she got another black eye. And when I asked what happened, they said that Renee's back was bad and her hip gave out and she fell on her in the Sprint store. So when you would ask Lily what happened, she'd say, Renee fell on me in the Sprint store. And she was 2 years old. She wouldn't know what store she was in. So finally, November 17th, I told them, I called because she came home with more bruises, and I said, what happened this time? And they said, Renee answered, and she said, actually she called me because I texted, I'm sorry. And she said, oh, I was sore, so I was laying on the couch from my fall, and they were in the bedroom and they were playing with toys and they fell off and Lily hit her back on the bed. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take her to the doctor tomorrow to see what's going on, why she's bruising so easily. And she said, you know what? Can you also ask why she's pooping her pants? I said, she doesn't poop her pants. She says she does here. And I said, okay. And she said, do you sleep in bed with your boyfriend? And I said, Renee, it's none of your business, but I don't have a boyfriend. I said, I want every second that I have with Lily, I want to spend with her. I'm not wasting it on anybody else. And she said, well, Lily says that you sleep in bed with your boyfriend and he touches your privates while she's in bed with you. And I said, no, that does not happen. And so she agreed that the custody arrangement needed to change, and I let her go. And then the next day I called, or I got her back the next day on the 18th. And then the 19th, I called the doctor and they were closed. So I said, when I get her back on Monday, I'm going to take her to the doctor. And we went to Walmart, and she picked out a toy to donate to Toys for Tots. And she was so excited when she went outside and put it in the box. And the Marine that was standing there shook her hand and said, thank you. And she got a big smile on her face. And then we went home, and I dressed her in a red princess dress and took her Christmas pictures. And then we fell asleep on the couch watching Toy Story. And I can remember waking up that night and just thanking God that I was her mom. And I just would stare at her, and she was the most amazing little girl. She had such a passion for life and for everything. She would always ask everybody, hi, what's your name? Where's your mom? And she loved church. We would go to church together. And she sat next to this lady one time, I'm sorry. And she was probably 85, and Lily sat next to her and she goes, hi, what's your name? Where's your mom? And I'm like, oh, you can ask that to elderly people. But she loved it. And she would run down the aisle on Christmas and yell, happy birthday, Jesus. And she loved Glee and music. I swear she was going to be a rock star one day, because she just loved singing and going to my brother's concerts. And she just loved life. She was a perfect little girl. But we
That's
just
funny. What happened on tell us about the day, November 20th.
So November 20th, we woke up and she was downstairs eating Lucky Charms with my dad, and she would eat the marshmallows and then give him the rest. And I started getting her around because it was his weekend. And she had tears in her eyes and said, what are we doing? And I said, I didn't answer because I couldn't. And she knew. And I got her dressed, and my dad always drove. And I sat in the back seat with her, and she asked if Barney could come back to her next birthday. And I told her that he would. And she asked if we could go to Splash Village. And I said, when there was snow on the ground. And she had tears rolling down her face. And I said, I promise, honey, there will be a day that you don't have to go. And we got to the drop off. He changed it that day. And it was at a gas station, and he got out of his car, and I got her out, and she was crying, saying, please don't make me go. And I said, I'm sorry, honey. I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I gave her a kiss, and I handed her over, and he stood there for a second, which he never did. He usually just turned and walked away. And he handed her back to me and said, give mommy one more kiss. And so I took her and I said, I love you, baby. I'll see you tomorrow. And he turned around and walked away, and she was kicking and screaming, trying to get back to me. And I left, and whenever I didn't have her, I tried to get everything done that I needed to so that I could spend all my time with her. So I went to Walmart, and I was shopping, and my mom and dad had just gotten up to Menards up north. They were on their way to our cabin in Kalkaska, and they said, sent me this picture of a giant princess stocking, a 3-foot one, and said, start stocking stuffer shopping. So I was in the stocking stuffer aisle, and I looked down at my phone, and it was him, and I answered it, and he said, there's been an accident, to get to the Macomb Hospital right away. And I left my cart, and I sped walked to the car, and I'm like, done sending her, done with all of this. She's never going back. I thought it was a broken arm or broken leg. And so I called my mom, and she told me to meet my uncle at my house. She didn't want me driving by myself. So I literally he jumped out of his car and jumped into mine, and we left. And it was rush hour traffic, and he kept calling saying, where are you? And it was Macomb, so it was an hour and a half away. And he would hang up on me every time that I'd ask what was wrong. And so after like the 4th hang up, I finally called the hospital, and I said, my daughter's there. I said, her father won't tell me what's going on. Can you please tell me? Her name's Lily. And she put me on hold for a second, and she came back. And she said, I don't want to tell you this over the phone, but it's bad, and you need to get here. They've been back there for over an hour, and she has no pulse. And I can remember just handing my phone to my cousin in the back seat, who was 10 at the time, and saying, please call everyone and pray, because I couldn't make those phone calls anymore. And I got to the hospital, and he was standing outside, and my uncle had to park the car. So I was just standing there with him. And I said, is she okay? And he said, no. And I said, is she alive? And he said, no. And I can remember at that point, like, my whole world like ended, because she was everything. She was all my hopes, all my dreams. Everything was just gone. And I went back to the room that they put me in, and his parents were in there, and my uncle came in, and the doctor came in, and he said, I'm so sorry, we tried everything we could, but we couldn't bring her back. And they didn't know, and I heard them screaming, and all I can remember is looking at the wall, and I was so numb and crying. And then my family started arriving, and it was awful. And then my mom and dad got there, and I can remember that they always made everything better, and I just wanted them to make this better, and they couldn't. And they tried their hardest, but then the detective came in, and my mom was in there with me, and she said, what clothes was Lily wearing that morning? And I told her, and she said, what underwear? And I said, I think Dora. And she said, was there blood did you help her wipe that morning? And I said, yeah. And she said, was there blood? And I said, no. And I looked at my mom, and she said, why are you asking this? And they said that right before Lily died, she was severely sexually abused and torn from hole to hole. And to know I wasn't there and I couldn't stop it is still something that I live with every single day. That I should have ran faster. I should have. And over the last 10 years, we have people that say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you run? And it's something that, looking back now, I wish I would have done things differently, but I did everything that I could do. And
yes, you did. You did everything you could do.
I still have that guilt. But one of the hardest parts was going into our house that was full of people when we got home to be there for us. And I'm so thankful for all of them, but I didn't want to even go in the home because the person that made that house a home was never coming home. And it was when the priest at her funeral said, God didn't do this, evil did it. And you have a purpose to go on and help other children. And I left that funeral with a sort of peace that with Lily and God by my side, everything was going to be okay. And I'm not saying there hasn't been hard days, because there's been many hard days and we're approaching those hard days fast. And we go through every single one of those moments leading up to that. And I can remember closing. One of the hardest things of letting her go was closing her casket. She had a beautiful pink casket and she looked so pretty. She had that red Christmas dress on and her black sparkly shoes. And I had the bow that I had for her, but because of her 20 blows to the head, she couldn't wear the bow. She had to wear a Santa hat with a princess crown that my aunt had got her. And she just looked so beautiful. And all of my cousins and family members, we all put things in there. And we put lippies because she loved lip gloss. We put pictures and a book that I read, one of those recordable books. And my uncle put $100 in because he gave her $100 to buy a bunny that summer so that she could buy a bunny in heaven. And just when we all put our hand on the casket, that was the hardest part because I knew I'd never see her again. So, but I honestly think my family and all of the supporters in Justice for Lily has saved me, because it's like we're able to keep Lily alive by sharing her story, sharing her memories, sharing her pictures, and just having an army of people around us that are willing to fight in her legacy. And just my goal is for her story to be shared long after I'm gone and her legacy to be shared.
Wow. We are so sorry. This is just horrible. It is amazing what you guys have done since then. And, you know, part of the show is to understand how people not move on, because I know you never move on. But Lynette, I'm going to gear this to you because we've known you guys for a long time. And I remember when it happened, and just remember, Lynette, watching how you just sort of like transformed from just the happy-go-lucky mom that I knew that used to volunteer at all the choir events and everything else. And it just seemed like you had some kind of superpower that just, you were taking care of your family, you were taking care of Lauren, but you were also a grandmother mourning, and yet you were on such a mission to fight for justice. Where did that strength come from? How did you do that? Because tragedy does break up a lot of families, mm-hmm. and you just somehow put your arms around everybody and pulled everybody together. Mm-hmm. And while you guys were mourning, you were also fighting for justice. And then you were figuring out how you're going to help other people. Where did that strength come from, Lynette?
God is the only one, because until you're in that situation, you just don't know. I mean, I knew that with everything that happened, it wasn't just that I lost my granddaughter, because I also lost a part of my daughter, a part of my son, and a part of my husband. Mm-hmm. That, we all went through this together. It wasn't just me, but we were all in it together. And because, a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't let these people get away with it. Well, you don't have a choice, because if anybody were to do anything, then where would I be? If I were to do something to change that and make them pay, I wouldn't be with Lily again. And it's the same thing, like with all of us. But the strength, it just comes from prayers. It's something that I didn't even think about, and I still don't think about, because you just do it. You have to, because I will do anything for my family.
Yeah. Did you question your faith at all? Did you get mad at God?
For a very, very short time. I don't know that Lauren ever did. I don't think she ever did, but just a short time. But then it was him that got us all through.
I think you questioned him the day of that morning, because
I did. I'm sorry. When they left that morning, I could never go. I couldn't handle it. So you talk about being strong. No, that wasn't me, because I was the one that stayed home, because I couldn't handle watching her be that way. But I remember that day they walked out into the garage and they got in the car, and I went into the bathroom and I just screamed up at God. And I said, why are you making her go through this? Please give me a sign. And then this happened. And that was the time that I really did ask why. I
think that we more so questioned why it happened to us, why our family. I know that I think you too, like we leaned on God, because we knew that no matter what the detectives and the doctors say, we know that God was there and took Lily away before she felt all of that pain. And we have to believe that. And I think that knowing that he was there and he did take her, and that just, I can't blame him, because God gives us all free will to do what we want. And Renee chose to take her free will and take Lily's life that day. And my mom's been my strength, and she was just there all the time, and she was there for all of us. And it was just, I could not have done this with a different family. I could not have done it with a different support group. And she is the strong one, because she was always there holding me when I couldn't be strong. And I remember her crying when she found out, but I don't remember her ever putting her grief before any of us. And she held our family. Yeah. Not that our family was going to be broken, but she held us all together and made us stronger.
So at what point is the trials, we saw all the press conferences, all the media, the investigation. How did you guys decide that you were going to do something that was going to help other kids? Like, who thought of that? How did you come up with that?
So I think early on, it was the funeral, when the priest said, God didn't do this, evil did this, and that we had a purpose to go on. And I can remember being at the viewing the night before and looking up, because I stood by the casket with my dad, and I can remember asking him, who is this? Because I was in a zombie mode, and he would tell me. And I can remember looking up at one point, and there was not a seat and not a standing room space that anybody could be in, because it was just packed. And to know that she created that legacy in her 2 years of life. And then on the way to the cemetery looking back, and you couldn't see the end of the cars, just knowing how many people she had touched. We had officer friends that said the funeral procession was 3.5 miles long. And to know that in her short life, she touched that many people. So we knew that we had this support system that could make this go and make a difference. And a lot of the events that we do and things we put on, it helps us in our grief process. The Christmas, I can tell you right now, I'm not looking forward to Thanksgiving, because we always are the people that go shopping, because Thanksgiving is a reminder of the day after we buried her. So this year we're trying to find things to do, and this part of the year is hard because we're starting our last with her, and you live those moments. And then also we didn't have her that Thanksgiving, we didn't have her that Christmas. Those are very hard. So when doing an Angel Lily Christmas and helping the foster children, that keeps us busy and keeps our mind going. And then at the end of it, it's kind of like, wow, we're exhausted, but we think about all of the kids that will wake up on Christmas morning because of Lily and feel the magic that she brought to this world. So we started the t-shirts right after she died, was the original t-shirt. And that was our first awareness campaign. And then throughout trial, I think I spoke at high schools and colleges. And then after the trial is when we started planning a lot of our events, and going on Dr. Phil and all of that to try to reach as many people as possible.
Right.
It's kind of been going on since the funeral pretty much. And we've just had this army of people that has gotten us through these last 10 years. And I'm hoping will get us through the rest of them. So.
Well, I admire both of you, because I don't know if I would have had the strength to do it. Yeah. And, I'm sitting here and I'm mad and I'm sad all at the same time. And, what happened to this judge? What's going on with him? That's,
You can't sue a judge. You have to sue the city. So you can't get a judge off the bench. You just vote.
You can't. You have to go to the Judicial Tenure Commission,
and they
did, and they came back with a letter that said, we didn't find anything wrong.
Wow.
With it. So then we, I remember afterwards, we weren't afraid of him anymore because we already lost everything we could lose. So we would go and we would picket to get him off the bench, and I would go sit in his courtroom with my Justice for Lily shirt on, and just letting him know that I was sitting there and I didn't have to keep my mouth shut anymore. So if he made a bad ruling, I was going to social media with it because I wasn't afraid of him anymore. And after picketing and doing things, and we would have attorneys calling and saying, hey, I have this case, can you go sit in? So it's not just us. Everybody, that encountered him knew that there was, it was
Higgins Law.
It was Higgins Law. That was the name. There was a law, and then there was Higgins Law, and he did what he wanted to do. It didn't matter if it was right or wrong. And so he finally took an early retirement, and he's off the bench.
So in looking back and exploring his previous cases, had he made similar rulings? This was the kind of rulings that
for years. Well, this was by far the worst outcome, but it wasn't the worst rulings that he did. I mean, I don't know that I can say some of the stuff that he did, but we're just very thankful he is off the bench because there are a lot of children that are.
Thank God.
He's
right.
So no, my question was, so there was a history when looking back, there was a history of rulings that this was his ruling pattern.
Right. But we didn't know that at the time.
Oh, no. You had no way of.
And I had taken the transcripts after the custody hearing to a friend of mine who gave them to a different judge. And he read them and he said, you need to take this to the Court of Appeals. I have never spoke to anyone in my courtroom like this. Well, we had already remortgaged our house. We couldn't afford to go any farther. So we weren't able to take it to the Court of Appeals.
Oh, wow.
Tell us a happy, funny memory or something that keeps your heart happy when thinking of Lily, either one of you.
So she just always loved just singing and dancing around the house. I have so many videos. Mom used to yell at me because her camera was always full, like thousands of pictures. And she's like, Lauren, I can't even take a picture. But now after she passed, she was like, I'm so thankful you took all of those. Yeah. She just would get so excited, especially with music. She just loved it. And we would go to all Michael's concerts and she would just, that's my dodo. That's my dodo. Like just, he loved her to death. And he still sings for her every year. She, like I said earlier, she loved church. And I think one of my favorite memories was we were leaving church and there's a statue outside of the church for all the victims of abortion, all the babies that were aborted. And she said, what is that, Mommy? And I said, that's just for all the babies that are in heaven that, I forgot what I said, that their mommies didn't have them. And she said, but you had me. And I said, yes, I did. And she said, she handed me her doll and she said, thank you, Mommy. And she went over to the statue and prayed. And like, just her love for all people and everything, like she would have changed this world. And
she is.
And she is. And she is.
Yes.
Just
every day.
She loved
through you and your mom. It's changing. And we appreciate you guys for doing what you're doing, because it would be so hard. I don't know if I could do it. Yeah. We couldn't do it. Like we have a very large team of people that we call them our Lily Committee, and they are just, I don't think, other than family in there, I don't think any of them met Lily. And it's just know there's people out there that are sharing her story that have never met her and that are willing to put in the hours and there's during Christmas time, we put in 14 to 16 hour days that were stuffing bags for these kids, and they never met her. They don't have to do this. We do it because she's our family and we loved her more than anything, but they don't have to do that. And we just have this group of people that's amazing. And we're just so lucky. And they all, every time that we share something about Lily, they say, thank you for sharing her with us and her memories. It's like we did get to know her and the videos. And she just, everything that her Uncle Michael did, she had to do. He would pick his nose to play around. She would pick her nose. He'd put underwear on her head. She'd put underwear on her head. Like, and just, she was going to be a Chippewa. She would walk around the house saying, go fire up chips. And we just had so many hopes and dreams that were shattered in an instant. But I just hope that she's up there proud of what her life has done. Yeah. Yeah.
How many followers do you guys, or members, or does Justice for Lily have now?
I think we have 110,000 likes and like 118,000 followers. So
wow, that's amazing.
And that's more, but
and that's nationwide, right?
Worldwide. We've sent shirts to France and Australia and New Zealand. We have Lily shirts being represented around the world.
Wow.
It's amazing. And then all over the country, there's a lot more than around the world, but it's wonderful to know people are supporting everything.
Tell us about,
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna interject.
Yeah.
How have the laws been impacted and how have they changed? Because I remember when this happened and how lax the laws were against child abuse and against pedophilia and all of and sexual abuse in general, how lax the laws are. Are they still that way or has that changed?
There's been a couple of laws that have been created to help children, but it is still it's a luck of the draw. It's kind of who your judge is, whether these children will be listened to. And it's also like I said before, people need to stop lying when they go to court, because it's so hard to prove child abuse. It's a little bit, I think, easier to prove sexual abuse, but they're not. We've had cases come to us that they don't listen even when there is proof, when there are 5-year-olds with an STD, when there are bruises all over their body. Wow. We had so many people say after, like, if you would have came to us, we don't think we could have done anything. And that needs to change. I mean, the fact that my daughter had bruises all over her body, and people are saying even afterwards, a couple organizations said, we couldn't have done anything. Why? Why is that okay? Why can't organizations that specialize in child abuse help a child that has black eyes and 22 bruises on her body? Like, it's because our court systems aren't listening, and they try so hard. And I'm not saying that in some cases it's not beneficial, but we need to stop putting children back in homes of the abusers. In most cases, the people can put a good face on and just hide it. And it's our courts need to change a lot, and the laws need to change to protect our children. But also on the other end of it, people need to stop fabricating things just because they're mad at their ex, or they're mad at whoever it is, because that's clustering up our system with things that aren't real and not protecting the kids that are actually being abused.
Yeah. So what can people do to help with that change? What can citizens do? Is it voting? Is it petitioning to help create stronger laws that are protecting children and putting in place like systems that don't allow that kind of abuse, where if a child is coming into court more than once, and I even heard this from nurses a lot, is that they see repeat, pediatric nurses will see kids more than once, and they are like, this child is being abused to the point where they've even had called social workers, and they still get placed back in those situations. So what can people do to kind of get involved? Is there petitions and things like that they can be a part of to spread more awareness?
I think that people need to, first of all, keep their eyes open. So many people want to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it's not real, and it is real. And if one person would have kept their eyes open and actually spoke up for Lily, things may have ended up differently. I think one of the things that is not important when we're looking at political candidates is what their view is on child abuse and what they're going to do to try to make it a little bit less. I know that there's been judges that we've confronted and asked them where their stance is on it. And I think it's important that we ask the candidates for judges, especially because they're going to be the ones that make the ultimate decision when it comes to our children, what they're going to do with child abuse if they have cases in front of them. I think that laws need to change. I think the more people that fight for laws, our goal is to one day put a law into effect to make certain people mandated reporters. There are certain people that I think that if people were to speak up, then we could make a difference. And that's the biggest thing, is making sure that when you speak up, you don't stop. And one thing that's different now than was back then, we had social media back then, but we didn't have it as prevalent as it is now. And I think that that is something that we have on our side, is if you continue to go at it and you continue to get no and doors slammed in your face, put it on social media. The social media world shares the crap out of stuff and will get it done. And I think that that's something that, when all else fails, when you've tried the police, when you've tried the doctors, when you've tried the court system and it's not working, it's time to turn it to the media and let them do something about it. And that's sad that we have to turn things into the media to get something done, but sometimes that's all that can help that child. I've seen in many cases where it takes putting it out in the public to make somebody listen. So
another thing is the way that the laws are written. So it's not necessarily always the judge, it's the way that the laws are written. So the way that the laws are written need to be changed. And so, and as far as going about that, I don't know.
I think that we need to talk to state representatives and anybody that's in high power in our court systems to
reevaluate the way that child abuse laws are.
Yeah,
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you think that that's something you guys are going to take on?
I think eventually we do want to have a Lily's Law, and we want to. We just need to find somebody that would be willing to help us write something so that people know that.
I know there was right after Lily was killed, Dominic's law went into effect.
Yeah.
Which was where if you knew that the child was being abused, you would get prosecuted just like the abuser would.
If there was a minor in the home that witnessed the abuse, then you get the charge for the child that you abused and the minor, I believe is what it was too, is you get 2 sentences because you are causing abuse to the other child as well.
What's Wyatt's law?
I don't know if that's into effect yet.
Wyatt's law is another one that is trying to go through, and isn't
I've heard of that one as well. Yeah,
I've heard of that too.
It's just, and
it's really hard.
We've met a lot of people that are wonderful and are amazing advocates. It's very hard to get a law into effect, but our goal is to one day have a Lily's Law. We're just focusing more on this aspect right now, but I think that laws need to change.
Give us an example of a success story that your organization has had, because I know you've had some good success stories where a child was saved.
So Mom used to go to court and sit in people's cases, and we had to stop doing that because it is, like we said, the laws need to change, and it's very hard. So we stopped going into court cases because people weren't telling the truth, or it was very hard. But one of the success cases was right after she died, and a little boy that had been priorly abused came up to me at our first event and had a wooden box that he handed me, and it was wood burned. I keep wanting to say wood carved, wood burned, and it had money in it. And he said, "I want to donate this to Justice for Lily." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "You saved my life." And I said, "I did." And his mom was standing right there, and he said, "I had my casket picked out, my funeral music picked out. He had everything picked out for his funeral, the outfit he was going to wear. And then he saw me, he was going to commit suicide. And he saw me on the news crying about losing Lily. And he said, I can't do that to my mom. And he joined our fight that day. And he is an amazing young man now. But just knowing that not even a month after Lily died, somebody heard her story and decided they couldn't do that after being traumatized through their entire life from abuse that they had when they were a child. I think that's important too, is to know that the abuse can stop, but you still live with the effects of it forever. And these kids are still traumatized. It's something they carry with forever. So even if you get them out of the situation, they still need help. And it's very sad. And but we with our April Lily Christmas, we've had kids come in, a 16-year-old come in, and she said she had tears rolling down her face, and she said, "Thank you so much. I am this will be my first Christmas that you guys have, that I've gotten gifts from." And it's just, and that's our biggest focus is the Christmas, but we
help throughout the year.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to do this, but we're out of time. We have to have you guys back on. Listen, I do want to acknowledge the Hadley Chamber of Commerce, because last week we had our meeting and they generously wrote a check for you guys. So as soon as I see you, Lynette, I'll make sure you get that check for $200 without hesitation. Listen, you guys, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And you're just a reminder that humans have much more power and strength and resilience than we realize.
That we think, right.
So thank you for everything that you're doing. I know the Nooner Show is we sponsored some wrapping paper and stuff like that. So thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for telling the story
Yes,
again.
thank you.
It's just, I don't know how you do it all the time. Because it's not like you're telling somebody else's story, you're telling your story. So we commend you guys. It's a great organization. If you're a musician, you want to do some live stream fundraisers, you can go on to the justiceforlily.com and you can sign up. John Paul's doing something December 8th. I know Rocky's going to do something. If you don't want to do that, donate money, sponsor a kid, whatever. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
For sharing your story and your memories.
Thank you.
Yes.
And guys, for more information, don't forget you can go to the Justice for Lily Facebook page, and then you guys have a website, www.justiceforlily.com.
And it is up on our Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, Nora.
And remember, sometimes the only mode of transportation available
is the leap of faith. Have to keep that leap of faith.
Yes.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.